some things that we can actually learn from video games. One, I love this. This is Disney. If you ever go to Disney.com, they have great games there. This is a game aimed at 10 to 12-year-olds to teach them how to run a business. Now, I can tell you, when I was 10 years old, I was playing in the creek. I was not learning how to run any kind of business. So basically, you pick the business that you want at the comic shop, and then at the end of every week, you get basically a profit and loss statement that tells you what your income was, your rent, your marketing, what you're looking ahead, and your goals for the next week, create a marketing campaign. So kids are learning very early about business and business concepts via games. Here's my comic shop. You set up different comics. You look at the people coming in. Certain people want to buy certain comics, supply and demand. And you go over the concepts of supply and demand, and then each month you get a refresher of how you've done. That's a game for fun for kids on Disney. Here's Madden football. So we play NFL Madden football. A couple people do. Penn State, Joe Paterno, recently and a few years ago turned around their football program. Not that it was ever totally bad, but they turned around. And I live in the Penn State area. My dad went to the University of Pittsburgh. He would always root for University of Pittsburgh and anybody who played Penn State. So it kind of kills me to live near Penn State. But anyway, one of the things that Joe Paterno now does is he gives all new players the playbook on a PS3 digital card. The players go over the playbooks playing games. And a number of baseball players recently said that they learned the rules of baseball by playing video games. So you can actually learn a lot from playing video games. Here, surgery. If anybody needs some, there's a very neat website called edheads.com. If you go to edheads.com, you can... Oh, I'm sorry, .org? Yeah. So .org, thanks. Go to .org. You can go to .com, I don't know what you'll find. But go to .org, and you can go through the process of a knee replacement or a hip replacement. And what you do is you grab the surgical instruments, and here you're cleaning the wound, and then you grab a scalpel and you cut the wound, and then you do whatever else you do. Knee surgery, I don't know anything about it, but this is a way that you can virtually go through the process. And I've talked to some people that are, now I wouldn't want a surgeon to actually perform surgery on me. I'm not practicing. But actually it's very accurate in terms of the process that you have to go through.
It would inform a patient facing it.
Absolutely. It would inform a patient facing what they had to go through so that they could understand the process. Here's another surgical game. The Nintendo Wii has a game called Trauma Center. I don't know if anybody's played Trauma Center. But basically, you take the remote control for the Wii, what's called the Wiimote, and actually you use it as a scalpel to cut. You use it as pliers to pull out. It's an instrument that looks like the surgical pieces online. Now, the next natural step then is to take the actual devices, scalpel, and use that as your virtual tool. So think of how to train surgeons. So I went to a medical organization called, it's called Haptic. Haptic is the technology, but there's a medical organization called Stryker that actually does knees and hip replacement. And they have devices where you have the simulation of a knee replacement, and you use the device as if it was the actual instrument, and you can feel it vibrating and moving as you move through the surgical process. Now, I hacked off the guy's knees a couple times, but it was only practice. So you can do that. So if you have a chance, if you have a Nintendo Wii, you might want to check it out. And what's that? They do have virtual lawyers. They have he's Ace Lawyer on the DS. But yeah, you have virtual lawyers sued me. Here's suturing. And the interesting thing about this is you kind of work up through the levels from a basic surgeon to a master surgeon. And actually working through levels is a very motivating process that people like to go through. Here is, the games are also being used for recruiting. This is America's Army. You can log on to America's Army and you can play. And you always play as an American soldier. So if you're going after a helicopter, you're an American soldier shooting at the insurgents. If you're on the helicopter, you're an American soldier shooting at insurgents trying to get you. They're very open about it. They're using it for recruitment. They're saying, hey, who's our biggest audience? 17, 18-year-olds, they're online, we're going to go online. Now, critics contend it's a lot like if you've ever read Ender's Game or if you've ever read The Last Starfighter. So basically, in both of those, Ender's Game is a book, Last Starfighter is a movie, where they're playing games, but they're secretly training for military operations. The military doesn't do that. However, if you decide that you do want to join the military after playing this game for a while, and you give them permission, they can go in and see where you've been and what you've done, and give you advice about what division of the military you should go into based on what you enjoyed playing. So, very interesting recruitment tool for the military. Well, a lot of people say, are games valuable? Do they really teach? Well, I have to say one of the biggest investors in games and that type of technology is the military. And they're not fooling around. I mean, their lives are at stake, so they're definitely using this technology. Here in Second Life, this is a gentleman from IBM named Tony O'Driscoll. His Second Life name is What a Trip. And this is it's a little 60-ish, sure. This is a molecule that he's examining. So imagine if you could shrink down to the size of a molecule and examine them. This is one of the advantages in Second Life. And this content can be created by anyone. You don't have to be a game developer to create the content. Here I am looking at an amoeba up there. I'm flying around. So you get different opportunities to view that kind of stuff. It's getting younger, not older. Go to nickjr.com and you can join a two-dimensional online role-play game. And you can chat with your other friends at Nick Jr. And you can also meet Jimmy Neutron. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. He's the guy with the really big hair. Anyway, so kids are picking up these skills very earlier and are going to be used to social networking and working online. They're also getting things like, this is Nick Jr. as well. They don't call it this, but this is an RSS aggregator. So you're 10 years old and you want to aggregate your favorite stuff at nickjr.com. You come into this page and you create My Nick, fill in your info in terms of what you want, pick the games that you want, and you have your own RSS aggregator when you go to nickjr.com. Where's the future headed? It's very interesting. This is a product called MyView, and there are glasses that you put on. Remember, virtual reality was going to be the next big thing about 20 years ago, and we're still kind of waiting for it. Basically, what this company has done with MyView is create glasses that you hook to your video iPod, you put them on, and it's like it's right in front of you. This is a helmet that reads your brainwaves. And so they're trying to develop video games that you control with your mind. Second Life is actually called a metaverse. And metaverse is actually a term coined by Neil Stephenson in his book, Snow Crash. And he goes back and forth between that virtual world and the metaverse very easily. So when we think about some of this stuff we're learning, and we think, boy, this sounds like it's right out of science fiction, it is. Are you ready for this kind of technology, and what are you going to do to think about that technology, and what can we do to help our learners be adapted to that? And if you want, as Gordon mentioned, you can stop on my blog, karlkapp.blogspot.com, and almost every day I do an entry there about the technology. If you go to my main website, karlkapp.com, it has links to my blog as well as to my books website. And on both of those websites are copies of slides, very similar to these, if not the exact same slides. And I do post my slides, so I can post these as well. I'm not an advocate of we have to go, burn the books and, no lectures or anything like that. I really do not believe that. I believe that there has to be a blend, but I think the model set up right now so far in one direction that we just need to move it in the other direction. But we don't move it all the way. I mean, school is not going to be all games and all video, you just learn through video games. There needs to be a balance. Assessment is a huge issue, and tomorrow we'll go over some instruments that show how you can demonstrate, give guided practice, and then assess all using a simulation. So thanks, and I'll be around, so if anybody has any questions or whatever.
Thank you very much.